Not often do I dress for my guests on this show, but when they send me the t-shirt, of course I'm going to wear it. I will explain this throughout the time that we're together. This is the A Game. I'm Rob Acapora from the Shared Universe Studios in the Jersey Shore. This gentleman is out west. He's got a lot of things going on in his world, including a third book in his trilogy. Now, he's released 2 of the other books within the last year. This third one comes out in about a week, and we're going to get into it with this gentleman who's not only a novelist, but he spent 10 years of his life working for one of the most dominant independent record labels of its time back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Rob Weldon, thanks for coming on board, bud.
What's up, Rob? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too.
I am glad that you are dressed. You say you normally don't dress for your guests.
Yeah, well, did I walk into that? Or, boom! I should have known better. He's worked on a radio station in the past. I should know he's going to be quick. I should have known this. By the way, this shirt is from his second book. We will be talking about it throughout the time that we're together. To get to the books, I want to go back to where you got started, because you worked for, like I said, 10 years for photo number 4, Roadrunner Records. Yeah. And that was like what? You got there around 1996, 97?
97, yeah. To 07.
Yeah. And you knew the reputation of the label at that point when you got on board with it. Yeah. I mean, what they were doing was breaking a lot of underground metal, hard rock. And the irony of it is, as the label has progressed, they've had some big names. Even if they only released 1 album on the label. I mean, I wrote down a few names just for people to get an idea. Lenny Kravitz, The Cult, Henny Rollins, Leonard Skinner, Megadeth, Rob Zombie, Young the Giant, Shinedown, Stone Sour, Theory of a Dead Man, and Rush all have at least released 1 album of their careers on that label. And that says a lot.
Right. A lot of those are actually after I left, though.
So yeah, which is true.
When I was in radio before that in Detroit, and on a new music show, we would play Typo Negative, stuff like that. So by the time I did get to Roadrunner, they I already knew them through Sepultura and obviously Typo, Fear Factory. And then we just released Cold Chamber. And I kind of came at the tail end of that album cycle. But it was a different world back then. Rock and roll was definitely different than it is now.
As somebody who worked in 90s alternative radio, that's where I got my start on 106.3 WHCG on the Jersey Shore. I totally understand that. Working with record reps and working at that time was very much, like you said, the Wild Wild West. It was like early 2000 where it kind of stopped. It was like, it wasn't as freewheeling, we'll say it that way, after that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it's funny, you mentioned Typo Negative. That's one of the bands I wanted to get in with you, because at that time you step into the label. Typo's had back-to-back million-selling albums, and Peter Steele poses for Playgirl, and you got to, help work the next record. So this is probably about, 98, I guess 98 or 99, that album the next album came out that you were working. But I was wondering, with Peter having good success with a label, but also having the magazine pictorial, you had to know that radio stations were just going to be asking that question over and over again to Peter. So what was it like? What was it for Playgirl?
It wasn't as much about radio. I'm sure they did do that.
Yeah.
But it was more the meet and greets. Because
really?
You have girls that would walk up and go, they'd pull out the centerfold and say, okay, sign this. And he'd go down to sign. They go, no, sign it right here.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did he handle that well? Because I would imagine at this point he's 2-3 years into this from the Playgirl.
Oh yeah. Because what was that? 94, 95. I started in 97. So he had a couple tour cycles in there already dealing with that. But he was a little bit shocked. He had said that when he had signed up for it, he's thinking, oh man, all these girls are going to be like into it and how cool. Right. And he told me, he's like, yeah, I didn't realize how many dudes read Playgirl. And that wasn't what he's expecting,
Right. Yeah, it totally was like, okay, that was the curveball. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But obviously it helped the band. I mean, it didn't hurt the band because it became a talking point for the most part.
Oh yeah. And he had such a salty sense of humor anyway. So like his demeanor didn't really change much all the time. Hey Rob, Yeah. We're on our way to like a KNAC, but they were now a streaming station by this point, but we're on our way to do an interview there. And, the guy could barely fit in my car. I mean, he was like 6'8".
I was about to say 6'8", 6'9". Jeez, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he'd wear boots too. So like he
definitely. This was pushing 7 feet tall. I mean, geez.
So he barely fit in my car, and we're on our way to KNC, and he's like, "Hey, Rob, I'm hungry." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna grab lunch afterward. It'll be cool, you know. I'm thinking about we should go here." And he's like, "No, I'm hungry." Oh, okay. Can I just get a snack? Sure. We pull into a drive-through at just for a snack. Drive
Mhm.
a Burger King. He orders 3 Whoppers, and a soda. That he just again a snack right before the interview because we're still going to lunch afterward. You know?
That's a snack. Oh boy.
Yes.
God bless him. I know we lost
Right.
him about 12 years ago,
It
unfortunately.
was,
And
yeah.
you're about to
But
say.
no, I was just saying but on stage, like he also presented differently too because he would always have a bottle of red wine with him, but it'd be like you or me holding a beer bottle. He'd be just drinking the wine.
Like it was nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, literally nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he just seemed like I did not get to meet him. As one of the guys that was always fascinated to me because he just seemed like that kind of guy. And I wish I had gotten a chance to interview him back in the day. I know he had visited my old radio station a couple of times because we did a few shows with him when Typo had visited at one point the Fastlane in Asbury Park and then doing the Stone Pony. So, I mean, great shows. Absolutely. The other band I got to mention because Nickelback at that point was more than just what they are today. They were just kind of getting started. And then all of a sudden, boom, it hit. And I know Rob has got a frozen screen, so I don't know if we've lost Rob. Ming, can you check that for 1 second for me? Okay.
Hold on, I lost you for a
All right.
second.
I think you're back.
I lost you there for a
Okay.
second.
No problem, Rob. I was about to say the other band that was significant in your time.
You're back. There you are.
Oh, yeah, there I am. I'm on a slight delay now. But going into it with Roadrunner, when you were there, one of the biggest acts right now in the world is still Nickelback. And at the time when you got there in 97, Nickelback was just, I think, about becoming what Nickelback is, worldwide superstars. And I think we lost him again, Ming. All right. We're going to take a second here. And I will tell you about his books, which, by the way, while we're waiting, Ming, give me photo number 1 so I can let everybody know. It is a trilogy of books that is now available. That is one of the books. That's Mostly Human, Mostly Cat. That is the second book in the Omnist series, which is now available through Amazon and through Kindle. You can get your books that way. Number 1, if you give me photo number 2, the first one in the trilogy is this. This is, if I'm pronouncing it, Consummia's Spiritual Emporium. And that is the first one in this series. That one came out in September. I believe the second one, if we can go back to that photo for 1 second, Ming, go back to number 1 for 1 second. That one, I believe, came out just a few months ago. And the third one will be hitting in about a week. And the title of that book, just so everybody knows, as I'm stalling here, as you can tell here on the A game, it is the Omnist and the Cosmic Egg. And that's the reason we have Rob here on the A game, and we don't have him right now, do we?
He was here for a second.
He was here for a second. Okay. No problem. This is where I get to stretch a little longer and stall a little longer. About the shirt, this is where I can talk about this, which is, by the way, now available. And that is the link. And I want to thank Christopher the Minister from Jersey's Rat Radio 95.9 The Rat for putting out these line of shirts, which you can get right now. And you can hit that link. It'll cost you $25, but well worth it. They come in men and women, all sizes. This is an extra large, fit me fine. So definitely something to check out. The logo is cool. That's what works about this. It's definitely something you should be getting. How much longer can I stall? See, this is the thing. When you're doing it live, it's like going, do I need to stall anymore?
We had him for a second.
We had him for a second, then we're gone. I mean, I hate to say this. I mean, we may have to stop and start all over again.
He'll be back.
You're convinced he'll be back? Yeah, I don't know. Do I do a song and dance here? This has happened a couple times before, believe it or not. Usually they don't last this long. That's the hard part. I mean, I pulled out all my stops. I had all the things I could use to stall. And now it's like, this is the equivalent of dead air on the radio. It's like, what do you do? I mean, I can make funny faces, but you're not going to stick around to watch that. That's for sure. Ming, I think we're just going to have... Oh, there he is. His device is not being detected, but he's trying to get on, which is good. This is like, okay, I'm dying here. I'm dying. Rob Weldon is an author. He's a novelist. He's worked with Roadrunner Records, and he's also a Michigan guy, which we're going to get into during random shots here on the A game. Still not coming through. I know. I don't know what else to do. I apologize profusely. These things do happen sometimes, but
Can you see
there
me?
we go. I think we got it back,
Are
Rob.
you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I stalled as long as I could. I've mentioned the books. I mentioned the T-shirt. I'm like going.
I don't know.
It happened.
Yeah, screen are booting me. I don't know why.
It's technology. It's going to happen sometimes. It'll make something to talk about later. I'm like going, hey, I crapped out for a few minutes. But when we were talking about Roadrunner Records, I was about to say around 1997 when you got there was that little band from Canada called Nickelback that were just about to blow the doors wide open. I mean, what was that like? Being out on the road with them and
the first album came out in 2000.
Mhm.
And from us, they'd released self stuff like in '97 or whatever in Canada, but it wasn't a huge record for us.
Interesting.
Maybe they did 250,000 records. Like Leader of Men was like a top 10 single at Active Rock, but that's kind of all we had. And from what I understand, they were in debt to the label at that point. Again, I don't know all the details. Well,
See,
because
you wouldn't. I don't mean to interrupt, but you wouldn't think that, knowing how big Nickelback is, that they were really down on their ass, for lack of a better term.
They were probably close to being dropped. That first record had lost money, but you also never drop a band before you hear their new demo. And the thing about Chad is, like, I hear people tell me they absolutely love this band. People tell me that they can't stand them. Like, you really get very opinionated people about them.
You do. And
it was funny because we were, and I know Chad did this with everybody at the record company. I'm not taking any credit for what he did. He did it 100% himself. But he would do things like ask us these very particular questions. And I remember specifically in Reno, they're on tour opening for Creed. We have a one-off show because KDOT Pure Rock 104.5 in Reno was playing Leader of Men. And we have an interview with them, and afterward, Chad's asking me like, "Hey, I saw the spins were down at like these stations or whatever, and why is that? Like, we're on tour, this should be going up." And call-out research wasn't that good. He's like, "Well, what's call-out research?" And pretty soon it's like, "How long are these hooks?" And we had changed Leader of Men from the chorus rocking part of the song is starting to tire out at radio, so we change it to the intro of the song. And it starts cold. It goes, "I am not a leader of men because I prefer to follow." And we realized that the people listening to that were being researched all of a sudden weren't sick of the hook. They wanted to hear the rest of the song.
Interesting.
And he's like, "Wait a minute. So you changed the hook and it's getting a new life?" And we're like, "Absolutely." And so now they're in the hold of the label. The demo's sent to our New York office, and our vice president, Dave Blanco, sends all of us the demo and says, "Hey guys, what do you think? Call me as soon as you get this." And the first thing you heard was, "Never made it as a wise man." The same freaking idea, but now instead of 2 hooks on the song, there's like 6. And every single time that song would start burning out at radio, we'd ask the stations to change the hook to a different part of the song. And radio wants to play hits. They don't want songs to burn out. So Chad learned how to game the system in many ways.
That's interesting that he became such a student of it, because not every band person is going to be wanting to really dive into the psychology, and it's the best way of putting it, the psychology of what works on the radio and what breaks a song.
Right. And so he just got really good at that, and obviously it paid dividends. And the thing is that he told me at that same Reno show, he had a not stellar review that he saw. They get the little press kits, all the different reviews and feedback from their shows and album reviews. And then we're never really stellar reviews for them. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that. We can't make them write what we want to. Like, give them their album and see what happens." And he's like, "Rob, don't worry about it. We're never going to be cool. Critics are never going to like us. We just want to get played on the radio."
That's amazing that he really knew that because he, no doubt about it, Nickelback's probably taken the most abuse of any rock band in the last 25 years, without a doubt.
And they were probably better at receiving that abuse than any other band I worked with, because they knew that from day one. Before they were popular, they already knew they were going to be hated. And you got to respect that.
Yeah, but to know this now gives me actually a little more respect for them, a lot more respect, because that to me tells me you've got a thick skin, you can handle this, you understand it, and it's like going, look, we just want to be rock stars. Like, and ironically, did his song later on go, we all just want to be big rock stars. So I get, in a way, it kind of came from all of that, which, wow. That's interesting to find out.
Literally exactly the truth. Yeah. It's amazing. And they're actually really good guys. I had a blast on tour with them, and you know, they're hockey fans, so Canadian.
Yeah.
Mike Kroger had grown up in Windsor, which is basically a suburb of Detroit. So we're the two Red Wings fans. So we'd be on the bus, and they'd have a satellite on the bus showing hockey games. And we're always rooting for the Red Wings, and they're rooting for, you know, the Flames or the Canucks or whatever. And
of course, yeah,
it's fun. But I'll tell you what, I probably shouldn't tell this story, but you know, this was in public, so you know, there are a lot of stories you're never going to tell. There are secrets on the road, and it's not necessarily secrets like groupies or whatever. A lot of times they're just being your friend. It's like, man, being on the road is really hard, and you don't want to throw them under the bus for that.
Of course, no, absolutely not.
There's lots of secrets that you learn about these guys. Again, I'm never going to write a tell-all book, but in this case, he did do it in public, so it counts.
Okay.
On that first album, they had played 3 nights in a row opening for Fuel at the Whiskey in West Hollywood. And
legendary place, by the way.
And we would go to the Rainbow. I know, right? We would go to the Rainbow and get drinks and whatever after the show. And this one particular night, Rachel Hunter and Rachel Hunter's little sister were part of the entourage. Because again, they're Canadian. They had LA Kings guys with them. It was really, really cool. I'm like, wow, this band, like, they sold 100,000 at this point. They'd sold 100,000, 150,000 records, and they've got these people coming.
Right.
And the entourage was too big, and in the corner, like maybe the booth would hold like 8 people or whatever, but a lot of us were just kind of standing around and waiting for the waitress to bring our drinks back. And Chad is like looking at these drinks, and he picks one in particular, and he goes, "Are you drinking this?" And I forget if he was pointing at Rachel or Rachel's sister. I don't want, again, to get weird, but he takes the drink away from the waitress and says, "Whoa, this doesn't look like it stirred very well." Zip, stir, and sets it on the fucking table, and like everybody just goes, like, how do you freaking respond to that? And she goes, "I'm gonna blow you anyway."
Oh my god!
Amazing.
Without missing a beat, no less.
Without missing a beat.
Yeah, I can understand why you said, because this was public, I can tell the story. Yeah,
it was in front of a lot of people. At least 12, 15 people saw it. So it's not. Yeah.
Right. But it also makes you wonder if this is one he can tell. Imagine one she can't tell. My God. No, thank you for sharing that, because there was one a quick one, and Minister tipped me off on this. There was a moment where I think you were having dinner with the guys, and they had this phone call come in, and it was the realization of, we really don't have to worry about money anymore. Is that kind of the gist?
Literally exactly that. They were playing a show in early 2003, April, in Phoenix, Arizona. It's like the first, second, third show is the start of a tour. Jerry Cantrell was opening for them.
Good tour. And
which is really cool, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was like a dozen of us at this big dinner with the KUPD 98 Rock guys and whatever. And at a certain point, like Chad's sitting directly across from me, and his brother Mike is sitting right next to him as well. And at a certain point, the phone rings, and Chad's like, "I'm really sorry, guys. I got to take this."
Right.
And he heads outside, and he's gone maybe 10 minutes, and he comes back, and he looks white. He looks like he's seen a ghost. He doesn't look well at all. And we're like, "Dude, are you okay?" And his brother's literally like, "Are you okay?" And he leans over and he goes, "I'll tell you about it later." And he's like, No, tell me now. Tell me now. And he goes, "He told me to buy an island."
Wow.
It was his tax attorney told me to buy an island.
Jeez.
You know, I mean, obviously he's exaggerating, but still, that's the point. Like, he went in wondering, he didn't know how much money he made until that phone call, that, you know, the 2002, how much money did I make? Buy an island.
That says it all. It's like going, you don't have a care in the world now. You've made that kind of money. Congratulations.
I saw the exact moment that happened. That was crazy. You know?
Yeah, to be a part of that, especially when it's like you're watching these guys in front of you, just kind of have that. It's that moment. It's that moment. Like, now it's official. You've made it. Congratulations.
Yeah, literally.
If the Rachel Hunter thing didn't do it, this did it.
Yeah. And I apologize not remembering if it was her or her sister that said that. It was
No,
a
but
long time ago.
still
But
great story, man. I
yeah,
appreciate that. Rob Weldon's here on the A Game. So you go from Roadrunner, you leave after 10 years. When did the writing thing, was this always something that was in you that you just needed to have come out?
yeah, that's exactly right. When I was in high school, I didn't know if I wanted to be. Uh, I never really wanted to be in a band, but I wanted to work with music, or I
Okay.
wanted to be a writer. And I had a scholarship for writing at Wayne State University, which is in Detroit.
Yeah, Wayne
And
State.
while I was there, I needed an internship, so I started working at a radio station, which then became, I got promoted to music coordinator. I got a new music show. I started doing overnight shifts. That's stuff that you do when you're 21, 22 years old.
Rob, I'm trying to remember at that time, was 89X was like the big station just
Yeah,
from the signal was actually right across the
that's right.
border. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's
100,000 watts. I mean, you could hear
monster station.
ENX everywhere from Toledo up to Flint. It was crazy.
As
But
somebody who's doing
but I was
odd radio at that point, I totally understood that that was one of the bigger stations in the
yep.
format at that
It
point,
was
without a
the
doubt.
91. What 91X in San Diego is what 89X in Detroit was.
Yeah, good
Um,
comparable. Very good.
but 96.3 FM WHYT was just right up Second Avenue from Wayne State University, so I could walk there. And I'm like, okay, so I'll intern there, even though it's a top 40 station. They're playing Janet Jackson and Snoop.
Mm,
And but I was also pretty much the only guy there, like long hair, nose ring,
right.
Doc Martens, whatever. It was 1992 when I started there, as you can imagine.
I can.
And it was 2 years later, they flipped formats to be a direct competitor with 89X. So the programming director, Rick Gillette's like, hey, what are you doing Tuesday at 9 a.m.? I got class. Can you skip it? Again, why? It's like, we'd like you to sit in the music meeting with us. And that was just such a great honor. I mean, I'm 21 years old. Or I might still been 20 at the time, actually. I was. But yeah, how crazy is that? So
Yeah,
I
it
got to
is.
these music meetings, and we were now an alternative station. And it was right when Nine Inch Nails released Downward Spiral. I
Yeah.
mean, like Closer wasn't even the single yet. They were still just pushing March of the Pigs, just setting up. It's a setup track.
Mhm.
And we knew it was because once we heard the album, we're like, okay, this is deep. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
But that's exactly when that was.
And it's funny, you mentioned a guy like Rick Gillette. For anybody who's not in the industry, Rick in the 90s was actually one of the most respected, I will definitely say that, programmers in the industry. So for him to make the transition along with it, I mean, look, people know he's a very smart guy. And look, that made for a great radio war, for lack of a better term, in Detroit.
Oh, it did. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I knew that we had done something when Mike Halloran, who's become a good friend of mine over the years.
Oh, God, what a sweetheart.
Yeah,
Met him many times. Great human being.
my first when I left radio, it was for a job at IRS Records in
Mhm.
'95. I moved to LA, and my first convention was R&R in Atlanta, and
Radio
Mike
Records.
Halloran got on stage and he was talking about the state of the radio format right now at alternative, and he says, "Let me give you an example. You've got what he called it SHYT instead of WHYT." SHYT and 89X in Detroit, saying why 89X is great and why HYT like sucked. And he's
Yeah.
from Detroit. And like I said, so afterward, I'm like, hey man, I'm from Detroit, right? And I used to work there. And he goes, dude, just so you know, this is half for show. Like I really respect Gillette. I respect what you were doing and like whatever. And he's since become a really good friend. But it was just funny that the first time I met the guy, he was calling the radio station SHYT.
SHYT. Yeah. What a great way to meet up.
He helped launch 89X, from 91X. You know
Well,
what I mean?
yeah,
So
there's a personal stake from
very
where
much.
he was, yeah, from San Diego to launch the station in Detroit. So, yeah, he's going to have that little, maybe part show, but part like, how dare you go after my station?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
No,
But
he's great.
yeah, but it's interesting. I didn't know about the IRS days and IRS Records at that point. I mean, obviously, REM was the thing that really kind of put the label on the map for the most part.
Yeah, I believe their first release was the Cramps.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was REM, the Go-Go's, English
Those-
Beat. There was so many good bands on that label. And by the time I got there, it was basically I had another like industry person tell me it was like arranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
Oh,
They couldn't afford somebody with more experience, so
right.
that's why I was there. They couldn't. Anybody with experience knew not to take a job on a Titanic. So I was 22 and I got this grown-up job, where my assistant was 3 years older than me, and when the label was folded into Capitol, I now had a year of experience, and I'm still only 23.
Right.
And it absolutely changed my life.
That's it.
Nothing was ever the same.
That was that. You had to look at this. So this is my graduate work. That year was your graduate work. It had to feel like.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So the writing thing, when did that really started to bubble up? Where you just kind of knew, okay, I've been on this crazy ride with the record labels. I want to really dive into this now a little more fully.
Yeah, I had always written, so like I'd be on airplanes with my little journal, like writing stuff. Not
Yeah.
journaling, but literally writing books.
Mhm.
But they weren't very good. I'm writing in hotel rooms, like waiting at a bar for the guy from the radio station to finish his shift on the air. So I'm like,
Yeah. So this has just always been a part of you. This is always that, like you said,
right.
it's like the music thing kind of was the passion at that point, but somewhere along the line, this was going to come up no matter what you did. It was like it was a part of you that had to come out.
That's right. But I couldn't, and I still haven't been able to write about the music industry. I feel like that's too close to me, and that something doesn't. I'm not inspired to do it. But
That's
I was writing fiction, and they weren't very good. But it would take me like 5 years to write a book, and I don't know, whatever. They petered out, and I did it 3 times, and then it was really in 2018. I had this idea. I was actually reading Neil Gaiman, American Gods. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but basically, one of the concepts is that a god needs people worshiping, or else they disappear. And I thought, well, I live in LA. How would this translate to Los Angeles? Oh, they would need an agent. They would need somebody pushing them to
Mhm.
people, like as a median, and but not a preacher, like literally an agent. Well, no, you guys should be worshiping this god today, like
Yeah.
trying to prop up all of their clients. And then I realized, well, her name would be Connie because she's Consumia. And it just basically turned into, okay, no, she owns a store that these people do that stuff. She doesn't believe it herself at all. And by making it one step removed, it allowed more of a, I don't want to say plausible deniability or something to that effect, where she doesn't believe in the magic that she's selling.
But yet the magic is happening.
Of course, or
Right.
otherwise there's no series, right?
Exactly.
But it's hysterical to me because she could have a stack of yoga mats that prayer mats that you're
Mhm.
selling for $30 each, and then but if she invents a story about a monk dying on it, then suddenly she can sell that for $1,000.
Right.
So she's doing that kind of shyster stuff,
Mhm.
but magic's going to find you. If you're selling magic, it's going to
Right.
find you and basically teach you a lesson.
It's interesting. I can feel the passion that you're talking about, and I want to put the photo number 2 up there because this is from the first book. Now this came out within the last year. This is the first in the series of 3 of the Omnist, and
Yep.
we're going to talk about number 2 and the release of number 3 in this series in just a couple of minutes. But yeah, I mean, as a writer and as an artist, because this is an art form onto itself without a doubt. Like you said, you're not inspired to write about what you know, but you can
Right.
dive into this world and feel like this is where your creative juices really just start to flow, and you can feel that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm inspired because you still are always writing about yourself. Like
Mm.
what's the worst thing about you? What's the best thing? What makes you not sleep at night? What makes you get up and go? And
Right.
these are all every character. If you don't relate to them, they're going to sound wooden. They're going to sound fake.
And then
So
the
it's really
process
a
just
way of,
doesn't work. Yeah.
yeah, and you know what? I think working in the music industry helped a lot because you meet so many different types,
Right.
and you have to speak on their level, or else you're just going to come off as someone walking around, play my record, and that's not going to work. You got to understand where they're coming from, what works for the station, and why, and how, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
So,
know exactly what you mean. Definitely. Yeah.
so it makes it easier to write this kind of stuff because everybody has a different belief system. Like,
Yeah.
th- there's a
But for me getting interrupting, but it's great because, like you said, to take everything that you've learned through that dozen years of being on a record label, and it actually does help you. I mean, I
Mhm.
think some people wouldn't think that because it's like, okay, this is so separate than what you're doing. This over here, what you're writing about is so separate from what you did over here. But yet, like you said, it actually has helped bring out characters and bring
Yes.
out you more. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So the concept though is there's an app called the Omnist, and that's why it's the Omnist series. So this
Hmm.
app exists in every one of the books, as well as the Emporium in every book.
Hmm.
Um, the app is like a dating site where theoretically the more questions you answer, the better they are at matching you, but they're matching you with gods to worship or prayers to recite or
Wow.
omniscience to see speak at the store. And they could tell you to worship the god of sleep
Right.
or the goddess of FOMO, FOMOtalia,
Oh,
modern gods for modern needs, right?
there you go.
So but it's a way of me incorporating, I've lived in Los Angeles since 1995 now. So uh, this is my second home. And
Right.
it's allowing me to make it based in North Hollywood and Burbank, and in some ways, it's an underrepresented area. I know P.T. Anderson does a lot of stuff there, Magnolia, all of his
Mhm.
movies,
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
based there. But it's a way of taking people that grew up reading Harry Potter, but now don't want young adult books. They want actual adult books, and it's like the halfway point between Harry Potter and P.T. Anderson.
That's a good analogy, and
Yeah.
that lends itself to me that this book can lend itself to a series and potentially be something that can you see this being developed into a Netflix series or something along that line?
Absolutely, and I've had this in mind the whole time. What was
Okay.
funny is that to back up again, I said in September of 2018 I started writing this,
Hmm.
and it took me 2.5 years to write the first draft. So I'm like, cool, that's twice as fast as my other ones. But in the meantime, my best friend, at the time, he was a professor at University of Michigan teaching composition and film theory. He's literally the perfect person to have as a beta reader. Um, but I'd gotten a good flow going. So while he's got the book, I decided I'm going to try to do another sequel in 30 days. It's called NaNoWriMo. You try to do 50,000 words in 30 days. And I actually wrote 60,000 words, and that was mostly human, mostly cat. And then I did it again, and I did it again. 7 months in a row, I wrote 7 sequels. Now
And for
they're crap.
people, for
They're
people
crap.
but just to clarify something, for people who don't know, 60,000 words interprets into about how many pages of writing, roughly?
Geez, 250 words a page,
Wow.
so 240 pages
Yeah. Okay. So you,
in a
you
month.
wouldn't think you can spit out basically a whole book in 30 days, but like you
I
said,
didn't know
yeah,
it used to take me 5 years, and
right,
now I was doing it in a month. But like I said, they're kind of crappy. But the point was the ideas were down, and the
right,
only reason that I went back and fixed book one is because I needed to publish this last year.
right.
And in order to do that, you got to go back and revise. Plus, I'd gotten to know the characters so well, and they were mad at me. They're Rob, I don't talk like that. I would never do that. I would never say that. So it made writing really easy because now they're directing where the story is going to go. These are all character driven. They're not plot driven.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, which brings me to the second book. So, reading the first book will actually set up the second book. But where
Correct.
does it? Yeah, if I kind of image number one, Ming, if you don't mind, because this is the second book. This is the one that just came out. This is where I'm sporting the shirt on. Mostly human, mostly cat. So the continuation. Now, how did we get from 1 to 2 into this book?
So book one, again, as you
Right.
just
Well,
said,
I don't want you to give away too much, but I want
introduce.
people to buy the
I'm
book.
not.
Obviously, yeah.
It deals with. It's introducing the Emporium and the Omnist as an app, and a bunch of the omniscients that speak on at the lodges.
Right.
They're called lodges. But there's some tragedy that happens with a couple of characters, but I pick up the story of one of them and then her aftermath. But you can read these out of order. It's like
Oh,
a
see,
lot of.
okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but I do prefer that people read book one first because of the introductions to everything. But
Mhm.
after that, you can skip around. I mean, I only have the third book coming out now, so there's not much skipping to do yet.
Right.
But theoretically, you could read book three before this one, but
Mhm.
you know, you don't have to.
And for everybody who wants to know, the book 3 is the Omnist and the Cosmic Egg. What is that? About a week away from being released?
A week from today, yes,
From today.
exactly. So backing up to mostly human, mostly cat. Back in 2006, right at the very beginning of the year, I for 2 months I had dated a girl who she had 11 cats,
Wow.
and that's just crazy, and she was 27. So like, you're already a crazy cat lady at this age. And
I'm
no
afraid to
offense
say
to
that.
people who are that, but that, I hadn't experienced that, and I'm allergic to cats. So I was popping, allergy medication like Tic Tacs. Um, and we're in the kitchen one time, and she hears a meow outside, and she goes, "Coming, Mr. Whiskers." And she opens the door, and Mr. Whiskers walks in. I'm like, "You know your cats by their voice?" She goes,
Wow.
"Yeah, they're like all my little people." And I'm like, "These are your exes. That's what this is. These are your freaking exes." So, so I just thought about, somebody with abandonment issues, or,
Right.
you know, and I'm like, someday I'm going to write a book about this. That wasn't the book I was writing at the time. So I'm like, someday I'm going to write a book about this. And after I'd finished book one, like I said, my best friend's reading it. So I need to write a sequel. And I'm like, oh, this is the time. I should do it now.
Mhm.
So
That's
yeah. So, but 11 cats is a little unwieldy. That's a lot of backstories to tell. So I just reduced it to 5 cats.
Well, there you go. You got to try to make some control of this.
But you'll never guess the boyfriend is allergic to cats. You never guess that.
And first off, credit to you for going through those. Not every guy would have been willing, or any woman for that matter, would have been willing to, continue to pop allergy medicine and be like, I like this girl, I'm going to try,
It was only 2 months.
All right. Not going to give you too much credit.
Yeah.
I will mention again, you can go to Amazon, you can for your Kindle, wherever you get your books. Goodreads is another place. You can get we'll do it in order. Photo number 2 first. The first one, Consumia Spiritual Emporium, number 1 photo. The second one, Mostly Human, Mostly Cat. Both are now available. If you wait a week, then you can get the Omnist and the Cosmic Gag available where you get your books. This is Rob Weldon. Rob Weldon here on the A Game. Okay, now we're up to the part I call random shots. I go with random questions. I usually take a random shot because I can. So I will. Ming, what do I got here? Oh, I got monkey shoulder. Oh, there we go. Good stuff. So I say, cheers to you for coming on first off and braving this day. Oh, there you go. All right. Now your background is Michigan, so I try to make this some Michigan formed random shots, which brings me to the first question. I would like to thank Ming. Ming Chen is a Michigan guy. So first question is, when it comes to Michigan soda, I bring you one prop.
Fago.
Very good.
I said before I even saw it.
Before
even better.
Do I have to bring up Verner's Ginger Ale then? Is it just that's it? Fago.
Low hanging fruit.
It's pop, not soda.
It's pop. Oh, Ming, stop. It's pop. Rob, say it right.
Yeah.
You know what? Ming was my first guest almost 3 years ago, and I got to ask you the same question. What is it about Fago that never got past that area? Because it seems like it's like all the rage over there.
I think because of what just happened. You called it soda. They don't have soda. You can buy Fago Red Pop. Like, it's in the name. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Well, the funny part is, I was getting educated on the whole idea of Red Pop, which I thought at first, there it is. I actually thought that was their strawberry soda, which apparently it's not. But apparently this is Red Pop, and I know you're a fan of, Ming's a fan of the Rock and Rye. Apparently these are like the two more popular flavors.
Rock and Rye is closer to like a Dr. Pepper. You know what I mean?
Okay. Ming, I request when you go back to Michigan, can I get one or two, please?
Old case. I'm bringing cases.
Oh, thank you. Even better. I got a case. You were right on that, Rob. I love that. That's great.
But it's funny because, like, if back when I was younger, if Coca-Cola and Pepsi were 99 cents for a 2-liter, it was 59 cents for Fago.
There you go.
So it was definitely like the bargain bin stuff. Vernon's was a little more expensive. That was like regular quality, but Fago was like a little poor.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
By the way, he's not letting me pour this for one reason. This is his last can, but I thank you for allowing me to use that as a prop. So thank you. I've been in broadcasting for 30 years. I finally get to ask this question. Have photo number 7 ready after I ask the question. So, have you ever been to hell? Hit it.
Oh, hell, Michigan? Yes, I have. Everybody takes a photo with that.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's sort of like going, yes, I've been to hell. Where exactly is hell, Michigan, for people who don't know?
Oh, it's in the lower peninsula. There you go. Oh,
Okay.
that's right. That's backwards.
Okay. So which part of the hand is it in?
It's like down here.
Okay. So like below Lansing.
Yes.
Okay. I know enough about Michigan. I can get away with it.
Well, it's funny because I'm looking at myself and it's reversed. Like I expect it to be like a mirror, and it's the opposite of.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mess you up, but it doesn't. Random shots happening with Rob Weldon, all about Michigan. Okay. Which in your mind is more of a tourist attraction in Michigan? Bronner's Christmas Wonderland, the world's largest Christmas store just outside of Saginaw. Or can I have photo number 8, Ming? The world's largest weather vane on the shores of the White Lake.
It's so ridiculous.
You're obviously familiar with the weather vane somehow.
Well, just photos. People,
Yeah.
I've personally never been there, but
Okay.
again, you see the photos. You know?
Yes. Believe, first time. I'm like doing this today, and I'm going, what?
Is he gonna go Frankenmuth on me next?
Almost. No, I'm not, but I almost did. Almost. See, I educated myself today.
I did stay. So there's a Hell, Michigan. I did stay in Christmas, Michigan once, which is in the Upper Peninsula. I'm a Uper. I was actually born in the UP.
Oh, okay.
And we're just returning from Christmas to see my mom's parents outside Detroit, and our car broke down on the way home, and we had to stay in Christmas, Michigan. I don't know, whatever. It's like I actually stayed there though. Most people just take a picture of the sign with Santa Claus, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But in this case, like I spent it overnight at Christmas.
That's
damn
right.
it, and that should get me some good points with Santa Claus next year. Let me tell you.
So yes, Christmas and Hell are in the same state.
Yeah, see, you just learned something. This is the craziness about Michigan. Okay, we know you're a Detroit Red Wings fan, but as a sports fan, I got to ask this: which one of these teams is in more trouble? The Detroit Tigers or the Detroit Pistons? Because they're both not doing that great.
You know what? I'm going to say the Tigers are in more trouble. As much as I love them all, the Pistons drafted better.
True.
And I think it'll be a shorter road to back to the playoffs for them than it will be for the Tigers. I would love to be wrong and have them both make it. But you asked a particular question, I gave you a particular answer, I guess.
What has been more exciting, being around the Detroit Red Wings Stanley Cup or when the Tigers won the World Series? They won it a couple of times over the last, couple decades.
They've only won it once in my life, in 1984, and I was 11 for most of that summer, and I turned 12 in September. And everybody has that summer of '69 or whatever. That was my summer. That was the summer riding the bikes. It's Stranger Things, first season Stranger Things. That was us. We were playing baseball. We were watching the Tigers every day. That's just a magical season. It's a magical year of my life. That'll never be reproduced, no matter how good they get again. You know what I mean?
I get that. I get that. For me, that's the '86 Mets. That's exactly the same thing.
But when the Red Wings won, and they won a bunch of times,
right?
It was different because I was an adult. So I remember just going to bars in LA, and there was once they were I don't know if you remember, there used to be have you been to LA?
Yeah, once.
Okay. There used to be a place on Sunset Boulevard called Dublin's. It was kind of a really big Irish pub. And when the Red Wings are playing Carolina, it was a Carolina timed game. So it was at like 4:30 in the afternoon, LA time. And there was a convention going on. Like I think it was an R&R again. I don't think it was Gavin. It must have been R&R. A bunch of us caravanned from the convention to Dublin's to watch the game. And there's people not just wearing all the jerseys. The whole bar was nothing but Red Wings fans.
Wow.
2 different people had made aluminum foil Stanley Cups. And like would score a goal and they're raising them. It was just amazing. It felt everybody was from Detroit that was in there, and it just made me feel like I was back home. And that's really important because it's June. It's hot outside. It's sunny. Like this isn't hockey weather.
That's a cool moment. That's a very cool moment.
Palm trees in the background.
Exactly. One more random shot, and I found this when we were exchanging texts and getting ready to set this up. You're obviously a Detroit Lions fan, having won 8 of their last 10 this year, just missed the playoffs. The team that got in was the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm going to say it, they shit the bed. They did not play that great against the 49ers. If Detroit were in that game, I was about to say, if Detroit were in that game, do you think they would have beat the Niners? The way they've been playing, especially off the win over Green Bay.
As a Lions fan, you learn to never count wins before you get them.
Yeah,
So
true.
I think it would have been a really good game.
Yeah.
How's that?
That's
But
a good
yes,
way
I
of
would
putting
be
it.
rooting for them. Yeah, you can't count wins before you get them.
Yeah.
I've been hurt too many times. It's been an abusive relationship. She keeps saying she's not going to cheat anymore, and then the Lions cheat on you.
Yeah, on
You
you,
know,
right. It's like we have the best wide receiver in the game. He decides to leave way before he should have retired. These kind
right?
of things.
Yeah, you get Barry Sanders, you get Megatron, you get Stafford. You
Yeah,
can get to the playoffs, and you can never win.
right.
You
And yet,
know,
yeah, Stafford leaves, and it's like he got his ring. Happy for him, but you couldn't have done it here in Detroit.
I mean, a
Couldn't do it.
lot of us were rooting for Stafford. A lot of us were rooting for him because,
Absolutely.
he's already a Hall of Famer, but now he's guaranteed first ballot.
Oh, no question. No
You know?
question about that. I look forward. My hunch next season will be his last. He didn't want to go out with an injury. I figure he's going to go out there, give it all he can, and then ride off in the sunset before he gets seriously hurt. That guy's been banged up so many times. I mean, and you got to give him all as a Detroit fan, the way he played with heart, he played with guts, he played hurt.
Oh, he was injured. He messed up his shoulder in season 1,
Yeah.
and he missed like half that season. And he got hurt again in the second season, and people were like, "This guy's just gonna break all the time," and nobody believed him. And then I don't know, what was it, 170 straight starts. Like,
Right.
he turned into just a machine. So it really was a fluke. He's not a broken dude.
No, he's.
But he's
And,
getting pummeled by bad offensive lines in Detroit.
yeah, I mean,
So,
look, the fact that he's still standing, I give him God bless you, man. God bless you.
absolutely.
Let me run down the books one more time for everybody. Photo number 2. These are all 2 of the books are now available. Consumia's Spiritual Emporium is volume 1 of the Omnist trilogy. Photo number 1. The second book is Mostly Human, Mostly Cat. That is also available wherever you get your books. You go through Amazon, or if you go to Kindle to add to your list that way, go get the books that way. Also, if you're a fan of the logo, the t-shirts are now available for $25. Thank you, Christopher the Minister, for creating this website. They still have a few available. They come in all sizes, and it's a cool logo. So why don't you purchase yourself one? There is the website available. And the third book will be next week, and that will be, once again, the Omnist and the Cosmic Egg. Best of luck with that, man.
And real quickly, the guy that creates the covers, his name is Dustin Stanton, and he's worked with American Horror Story, with P.T. Anderson, speaking of as earlier. I think he does an amazing job, and I'm just honored that he even works with me. And I wish I had the new cover to show you right now. I'll probably have it tonight. Like, it's that close. I was hoping it would be done by last night, but we tweaked a couple of things, and I didn't want to show something that wasn't 100% done yet.
I understand that. I will definitely share it through social media once it is available, for sure. And yeah, I mean, great graphics. Absolutely. Great job that he's done. Rob, best of luck with this. Continued success with this trilogy. And like I said, I will not be surprised if all of a sudden in the next year it's like Netflix series created by Rob Weldon. I look forward to that.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Rob. You rule.
Hey, thanks, man. That's a wrap for the A Game this week. I'll be back next Thursday night at 7 o'clock, so mark it down. And if you like what you're seeing on social media, like my YouTube page as the followers continue to grow, and you can also get caught up on the other 90 episodes before this one that have happened. Until next time, for novelist Rob Weldon, I'm Rob Acampora. Take care. Have a great week ahead.